Okay, I'm going to go through the 5 problems on the review that are the most similar to the quiz, and then possibly one other if I have time on the video. The first problem that's the most similar is number 1. Find the domain of the expression. Remember that the domain is the x values that work in the equation, or in the expression. It's usually all real numbers, but when we have something like this with division, remember that the number 1 rule in math is you can't divide by 0. So you have to think about, when does the denominator 3 minus x equal 0? So 3 minus what number is 0? And that answer would be 3, because this 3 minus x, it can't equal 0. So if that x was 3, that is the number that x can't be. So x can't be 3, that means that B is our correct answer. So on a problem like number 1, put the denominator not equal to 0 and solve that. So if you actually solved this, you would subtract 3 on both sides, get negative x can't equal negative 3, which means x can't equal positive 3. That's how you would solve that problem. Number 5, simplify. You need to factor and see what is the same on the top and the same on the bottom. On the top, when we factor that, we are looking for 2 numbers that multiply to give us negative 21 and add up to negative 4. That would be 7 and 3, so it'd have to be 3 and negative 7. So the top factors into x plus 3, x minus 7. On the bottom, do you see how this is backwards? Rearrange that to negative x plus 7, and then factor a negative 1 out of it. So it's negative 1 times x minus 7. Once you do that, you'll notice that you have x minus 7 on the top and on the bottom. Those will cancel. This gives you x plus 3 on the top and negative 1 on the bottom. If you wrote that as your answer, I would count that as correct. But typically you put the negative up on top, so a more correct answer would be negative 1 times x plus 3. When all there is on the bottom is a negative 1, you can put that negative anywhere, so you just move it to the top. And that problem on the test, or on the quiz, is not multiple choice. So again, if you left your answer like this, I would count that as correct. I would consider that a correctly done problem. Technically, the one that I boxed is more correct, but on a quiz like this, you get the point. The next problem that is the most similar to the test is number 8. This is the kind where you have to factor, and then see what cancels. I just realized that when this printed, it didn't print that 21. I think it's printed correctly on your paper, but it just didn't print on my copy for some reason. So if we factor x squared minus 9, that's difference of 2 squares. We get x plus 3, x minus 3. If we factor 2x squared plus 14x, that's only 2 terms, so you're looking for what do they have in common. They have 2x in common. 2x squared divided by 2x is x, and 14x divided by 2x is 7. On the bottom left, you're looking for 2 numbers that multiply. The way this printed is super weird. 2 numbers that multiply to give you 15 that add up to negative 8. That would be negative 3 and negative 5. So that would be x minus 3, x minus 5. And then, so that was that one. For x squared plus 10x plus 21, 2 numbers that multiply to give you 21 that add up to 10. That would be 3 times 7. So x plus 3, x plus 7. So there's each piece of it factored, and because it's multiplication, you just put both of the numerators on the top, both of the denominators on the bottom. Now we play the matchy-matchy game. What on the top matches what on the bottom. X minus 3 cancels, x plus 3 cancels, x plus 7 cancels. So we are left with 2x on the top and x minus 5 on the bottom. This problem is also not multiple choice on the quiz, so I will really be looking for, did you factor each piece correctly? Did you cancel off the common factors? All of that good stuff. We'll talk about number 9 in a second. It's kind of related to number 11. They are both division problems. Remember, with division, we don't keep it the same. We do KFC, keep, flip, change, or I think we do KCF actually. Keep, change, flip. That sounds better. So we are going to keep the first fraction the same. Change the sign to multiply and flip the second fraction. So x squared plus 5x minus 36 will be on top. X squared minus 8x plus 15 will be on the bottom. Now this problem has become exactly like the last one that I did for you. You have to factor all 4 of those pieces and then cancel. So I'm going to pause the video and factor them all out, and then I'll resume the video. So pause the video and give it a try. Factor each of those and then play when you need to check your work. Okay, the orange one and the green one are the hardest for me to factor. 36 just has a lot of options. Remember, if you get these blanks and you get stuck, think about the number that you're multiplying to get and write out all of the different ways that you can multiply to get 36. And then start looking through those and thinking, okay, how could I get 5? 36 minus 1, that's not 5. 18 minus 2, 12 minus 3, 4 minus 9. Oh, 4 minus 9 would give me 5. Or 9 minus 4. And remember, if you do like 9 minus 4 and you get 5, if you switch that around and do 4 minus 9, you'd get negative 5. So if you're trying to get like the other one, just switch it around. Same thing with 45. I kind of struggled with that one, so I wrote out all of the ways I can multiply to get 45 and found that it was 9 and 5. Once you get this completely factored out, what on the top matches factors on the bottom? X minus 3 matches, x plus 5 matches, x plus 9 matches. So the only thing left on the top is x minus 4. The only thing left on the bottom is x minus 5. And this one is multiple choice on the review. It is not multiple choice on the quiz. So I will be looking for your work. You need to show me that you are factoring each piece of this to find the common factors. If you happen to make a mistake, say in the orange one, and that means that you don't cross off as much, you're not going to lose all of your points. You'll only lose like 1 point for factoring. This problem is going to be worth like 1 point for factoring the pink, 1 for the yellow, 1 for the green, 1 for the purple, and then another point for canceling things out. So that's like 5 points. So please, please, please do not leave this problem blank, because that would lose you all of those points. Whereas if you attempt it and you just factor one thing incorrectly, you might lose just 1 point. This quiz only has 5 questions. Please do not leave any blank. That would really, really be terrible. Okay, number 15 is the next one that is the most similar to the test, quiz, whatever. Before you try to get common denominators, you need to factor the denominators. So our first one is x over x squared minus 49. That's a difference of 2 squares. That factors into x plus 7, x minus 7. Anytime that we have subtraction with these fractions, I want you to change it to plus a negative. So this is plus a negative 3 over, and then factor this denominator. You're looking for two numbers that multiply to give you negative 35 and add up to 2. 1 times 35, 5 times 7, so negative 5 and 7. And on the quiz, if you want to use colored pencils or colored pens or highlighters to help you, I am all for that. Once you get these factored, we have to get common denominators. So both of these already have an x plus 7. That part's done. The one on the left has x minus 7. So the one on the right needs x minus 7. But you can't just stick it at the bottom. You also have to put it on the top. Whatever you multiply to the bottom of a fraction, you have to also multiply to the top. So we're putting an x minus 7 on the bottom and the top. Now the right one has an x minus 5. The left one needs that. And the order of the bottom does not matter. Our common denominator is yellow, green, and blue. So our denominator needs to have x plus 7, x minus 7, x minus 5. On the top, we distribute. So we have x squared minus 5x. And we distribute here, negative 3x, positive 21. And then we combine like terms. So x squared minus 8x plus 21 over x plus 7, x minus 7, x minus 5. And that would be considered your final answer. Again, on this problem, you're going to get a point for factoring each denominator. You'll get a point for getting the denominators to match. You'll get a point for actually multiplying it out on the tops and combining your like terms. If you leave this problem blank, you lose a bunch of points. Don't leave it blank. Try it. And I should be there the day of the quiz, so if you get absolutely stumped and need a little nudge in the right direction, I will be there to help you out with that. I do want to talk briefly about number 9. I changed my mind. We'll talk about kind of number 11. What if you were doing number 11 and maybe the green and the orange, maybe those were monomial terms instead? So I guess what I'm saying is, what if you ended up with something like x plus 2, x plus 3, and 7x squared over x plus 3, x minus 3, 21x. Maybe something like that. The x plus 3's would cancel. The x on the bottom would cancel out one of the x's on the top. And then 7 over 21 is not that. 7 over 21 is like its own fraction that you can simplify. So we can take 7 and divide it by 7. Oh my gosh, that's so annoying. We can take 7 divided by 7 to get 1, and 21 divided by 7 to get 3. So in this thing right here that I'm talking about, your answer would end up being this 1x that's left on the top, x plus 2, and on the bottom you'd have this 3 and the x minus 3. So something like this might happen in the problem that's like number 11. So you actually might have less factoring to do, because like maybe the orange one and the green one are just single terms that don't have to be factored. Hint, hint, wink, wink. If you have any other questions, or if you want me to explain any of these problems further, please email me. My email address is jgilmore@bssd.net.